During this time of limited travel, increased isolation, and stressful media, we want to make the most of this time right here at home.
Let us be your escape from life's monotony. Allow yourself to indulge in your wildest travel fantasies and discover the constant beauty of this ever-changing world with the Wanderlusting Wives podcast. On today's episode, we'll be packing our bags and hitting the road from New York to Arizona and back.
Welcome to the Wanderlusting Wives podcast. We're your navigators, Allison
and Regan. And today we're going to hit the road from Arizona to New York and a bunch of places in between and kind of stay right here in the United States and dive into the beauty that you can discover when you pack up your car and drive across our beautiful country. And also, this is a great trip to take when you have a lot of time on your hands. So right now you might be thinking ahead to planning for summer when you might have some extended time off, and hopping in the car for a few weeks and just kind of driving and discovering is a great way to use that time.
Yeah, so let's start with our icebreaker today. This kind of works out perfectly with our topic for today, but which vacation do you prefer? Beach vacation or mountain vacation?
Oh, okay. So I love both of these vacations so much. Like, I am a huge hiker. I love to hike, but I love the relaxation that a beach vacation allows for. So I think I would have to go with beach vacation because also I'm always cold. So a beach vacation where it's warm and I get like a nice umbrella drink, there's the ocean there. I think I would have to go with beach vacation. What about you, Allie?
Yeah, I'm kind of going back and forth on this. Coming from a family who really enjoys hiking and going to the Adirondacks, I'm kind of the opposite. Like, it's nice, but they want to do like a whole day hike. And I'm like, do we have to? I don't really know. And it's like half the time you get to the top of a mountain and it's like cloudy. You can't even see the view. So it's just pointless anyway. So, yeah, I want to spend my vacation relaxing on the beach. And especially like being New Yorkers, we get cold most of the year, it seems like. So I always just think beach vacation, like tropical escape from the tundra. So
Mhm.
that's why I chose beach vacation over mountains more.
Well, it sounds like we need to go on a beach vacation soon then.
Yeah, sounds good to me. But this out west trip, part of it you and your family were on before I got there. So do you want to kind of tell us about the first half of your trip out west?
Yeah, so I mean, kind of transitioning, talking about these beaches that we want to be at. Like this whole trip was a lot of mountains and greenery and just beautifulness. If that's a word, I don't think it is, but it is now. So we drove, I think it was 3 weeks from New York all the way to Arizona. And then back. And once we got out to Phoenix, Arizona, that's when Allie joined us. But up to that point, we drove through the Midwest, which tends to get kind of a bad rap in just being like cornfields and things like that. And I will tell you, there's a lot of cornfields. There's a lot of corn out there in Iowa. There's even like a corn palace. They love their corn. They go all out with it. But we did really take full advantage of it because you drive through somewhere like Nebraska that sounds like, oh, it's going to be dull and it's just going to be straight roads. And actually, it's really beautiful. Um, it, Actually, at one point, my brother was like, I feel like I just need to ride like Black Beauty across these plains with the blowing grass and everything. It's just, you really get an appreciation for it when you're in the middle there, just driving through it. And really having nothing to do but to take it in, which is pretty cool. But we did get to live out like my childhood dreams from elementary school. And Allie, did you play the game Oregon Trail?
Yes, and I think I died of like black fever or malaria every time. I don't know if I successfully played the game, but I just have like this vivid memory of like our elementary school library and just sitting at the computer playing Oregon Trail.
Yes, it was like a shared experience that I feel like our generation just needed to have Oregon Trail in their lives, like finish up the homework early to play it.
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
So on this trip, we actually got to see a lot of the Oregon Trail stops. So we got to see things that we see in the game, like Chimney Rock and Scotts Bluff, Fort Laramie, Register Cliff, which is where people like left their mark as they made their way across the country, which is like it's really cool. Our country is fairly young in compared to the rest of the world, but really getting that sense of like, no, people were here. But that was just really cool, especially around sunset. Those landmarks that people so many years ago would come across in covered wagons. It's just, it's interesting to see that now in modern day. So we really took advantage of our drive across the Midwest, but then we got out to Colorado, which is one of my favorite states, and we got to Estes Park, Colorado, which is on the east side of Rocky Mountain National Park, and it's where the Stanley Hotel or Overlook Hotel that The Shining movie is based on. It is an extravagant hotel. I would never want to stay there because of the content of the movie that is based there. But actually, most of the movie was not shot there. Fun fact. But that was then on the outskirts of Rocky Mountain National Park. And Rocky Mountain National Park is quite possibly the most beautiful place I've been in the country. I do love Utah, but Colorado, in this park, you can go from lakes surrounded with green trees and like the mountains, you can see the reflection, and you're like wearing a tank top and shorts, and then a short drive up the mountain and it's like snow covered and you're freezing and there's snow like 3 times as tall as me. I'm not a tall person. I'm 5 feet tall, but still, the snow goes way over your head. And it's just like, it's gorgeous to see the variety that our country has and to see it in such a short amount of time. We even stopped one night for dinner at a place called Lake Irene where we saw like a baby and mom moose across the lake, and it was just so serene and beautiful. And on my most recent trip to Rocky Mountain National Park, I think we saw a total of like 26 or 27 moose.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just really cool to see these majestic animals just kind of hanging out in their natural habitat.
Yeah,
It was
I
pretty
saw a
cool.
moose in Alaska, actually, a mom and a baby.
Ooh.
And
Oh.
I like knew that a moose is gonna be big, but when I saw it, I was absolutely shocked. Like it was crossing the road, so we had to stop, and it was unreal. Like it was bigger than our car. I was absolutely blown away.
Oh
I
my
don't even like
gosh.
I like the baby was as big as our car, and the mom was bigger than the car, and I was just absolutely shocked. But
And also, if you are hiking, this is a pro tip here. I have not actually had to use these skills, but if you are hiking and you see a moose or the moose is angry or anything, a moose starts coming towards you, get a tree between yourself and the moose. Again, I have not had to practice this, but that is what they say when you're out hiking, just to add a little bit of protection to yourself. So moving on through Colorado, we did a couple of adventure activities. One that I would really recommend is Captain Zipline Aerial Adventure Course, which is a ropes course with so many different levels in the middle of a canyon. And it was intense. Let me tell you, there were like rolling cylinders and like snowboards that you had to hop on and swinging logs and all of these things in the middle of a canyon. It was unreal. It was so cool. Not for the faint of heart,
yeah, I was
but
like, I think I'm a little terrified just listening to that.
but it was an adventure that I couldn't have had up here in New York. Like we can go through the trees and stuff, but to be in a canyon of red rocks going through that, it was just an awesome experience. I think my brother and I got up to like level 5 or something, and it was intense, but well worth it. And we also went whitewater rafting in that same place. So then moving on through, our next big stop was Monument Valley in Arizona. And you cannot fathom. So Monument Valley, when you're driving kind of over the ridge and you get a first glimpse of it, you're at the top of Monument Valley and you have to go through all of these hairpin turns to get down, and it feels like the bottom doesn't get any closer. You cannot fathom how small you feel in the middle of Monument Valley. It puts into perspective how small you are in comparison to the rest of the world, and like how gorgeous this world is and how on earth did these things get formed. And it's like the most American moment we had, where we were listening to John Wayne say the Pledge of Allegiance in the middle of this sweeping valley. It was just, and the red rocks and everything. It's just beautiful. Again, this drive is not for the faint of heart, but still, it was amazing. And then our last stop, kind of before we got into Phoenix, was we stayed in this little like wigwam hotel on the side of the road. It's part of the original Route 66. And actually, fun fact for Disney lovers, the Cars movie, the Cozy Cone Motel that has like a little front desk area, and then there's like all of these cones around the outside, and each one is a little like room. That was based on a wigwam hotel on Route 66 that still exists today, has a bunch of classic cars that the cars in the Cars movie are based on, and you can stay in those wigwams. And so we did, and it was just a really cool experience that you wouldn't have otherwise. And then we got to Phoenix, and this is where Allie, we picked Allie up at the airport. And so then, Allie, I'm going to let you take it over since you have now entered the picture.
Yes, we hit the ground running as soon as the wheels of the airplane landed. It seemed like you guys picked me
So
up and were
true.
like, "We're going tubing." I'm like, "I just got off the plane like 2 seconds ago, but sounds great." Um, so we went, Salt River Tubing is the name of the company. I can't do you remember, is it in Phoenix? It must be, like, right outside of Phoenix. Do you remember?
Yeah, right outside of Phoenix.
So it's called Salt River Tubing if you're interested in it, but basically you're literally in a tube, floating down a river, and it was the coolest thing because you're able to go through like little sections of rapids, like not whitewater rapids, just kind of like a little enough to get your heart going a little bit. So it's a little exciting, but basically it's like a giant lazy river, I guess is the best way to
Hmm.
explain it, and you can connect your tubes and hang out with people. People were drinking and looked like they had some snacks with them, so you can make a whole day out of it if you would like to. And then,
You float by and there's a cactus there.
yeah, it
It's
was
just
so
cool.
cool. Yeah, it was awesome. It's not like what we experience in our small town Western New York, a whole nother level. But after that, we were hungry because, like I said, I went straight from the airplane to this tube. So we
Hmm.
went to La Huasteca. Is that how you say it?
La
Huasteca, something like that.
Huasteca. And I
There
didn't
you
know
go.
that until my most recent trip out to Phoenix.
There you go. So, but it is a authentic Mexican food place, and it was fantastic.
Hmm.
Like I probably had one of the best tacos ever from there.
It's not your average Taco Bell.
No, far from Taco Bell, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Phoenix has a lot of really great food because I mean it is so close to Mexico, so you get that really authentic Mexican food, which is just so good. But Phoenix has a lot of really great hikes and stuff too. Camelback Mountain for one. If you are an adventure seeker, hike Camelback Mountain someday. Even strap, like, if you have a baby, strap your baby to you and run up and down as your exercise because people literally do that.
That sounds terrifying. But after we got some tacos, we just kind of hung out for the night, and then we decided to continue on, and we hiked in Zion National Park. We hiked to the beginning of the Narrows, but we got rained on, so we couldn't hike the Narrows on this trip. I personally have hiked the Narrows on a different trip and highly, highly recommend it. I'm actually going out west again this summer and plan to hike the Narrows again. So that tells you how great it is. It's good enough to do more than once. So very,
Oh,
yeah,
good to know.
yeah, it's a very cool experience. You're just like hiking through the water, like in the middle of this canyon. It's amazing. But since we
Mm.
got rained on, Regan, where did we find ourselves at the end of the night?
Oh, we found ourselves in a little corner of the world called Las Vegas. It was so
That is true.
spontaneous. And I feel
Yeah.
like you and I were like hinting it to my parents, like, hey, we should go to Vegas. And we're like pricing it all out for them and finding hotels on our
Yes.
phones and everything.
I remember us being in cahoots. We're like whispering in the backseat, like, we should convince them to go to Vegas. And we were like, I don't
Yes.
know if they'll let us, but like, let's at least try. And sure enough, we ended
We
up
went for
there.
it. Yep.
And we actually stayed like right on the strip at a hotel called Circus Circus, which was
Mhm.
awesome.
Well, Vegas is kind of the epitome of America, like excess and spending and everything, which
Yes.
I'm slightly ashamed of, but
Right.
it's a completely unique city. I will
Yeah.
say that, and the architecture of some of the hotels and the design. Oh my goodness, that was really fun to just go through and explore all the different hotels. That was really cool.
But moving on, we found ourselves in a very unique spot. We were in Green River, Utah, which also happens to be the watermelon epicenter of the world.
Yeah. Talk about something that you'd find on like Atlas Obscura, like that website. If you're looking for something out of the way and super weird, but also pretty cool to say that you've been there, Green River, Utah, where it's the melon epicenter of the world, they literally pride themselves on all of these different kind of melons that they produce. And we went to a really good restaurant and they gave us like free samples of melons and stuff. It was really kind of cool. Super kind of weird that we ended up there, but it was unique, very unique.
Yeah, I never knew that existed until we went there. So it was a cool
Yeah.
like experience and thing that we can say that we've done before.
Yeah, exactly. But then like you have Green River, Utah, which is like the middle of nowhere and no one really knows about it. But then they ended up at Arches National Park, um, which is just gorgeous. I I think it's like erosion and water that creates these formations. And there are some great hikes. Do you remember what hikes specifically we did, Allie?
Yeah, we hiked Sand, Skyline, and then Double Arches. So I think these are
Oh.
all of the popular ones. So plan accordingly. I know in my research with going out west this summer that the national parks are really a hot spot now because people can't, leave the country. They're interested in exploring the US. So some hikes and in the national parks require that you get a lottery ticket. So just like look into
Mm.
that ahead of time and plan for that because they are becoming more and more popular with the pandemic. Hopefully things calm down a bit this summer, but that's just something to be aware of. And they also charge you to get into the parks. So you can get like a pass that reduces the price if you plan to go to multiple national parks during your trip.
Yeah, and then if you do that, you can head across the road, I say that lightly, from Arches to Canyonlands National Park, which also has some really great hiking.
And we
Mm.
had a little bit of a, I don't know how to say, overdoing of the hiking, not so much, but we were ready to find a better way down the mountain. So we went to Top of the Rockies zip lining and we rode like in this military vehicle up to the first zip line. That was probably more terrifying than the zip line because the road up was so many, I don't know if you want to call them potholes or just like craters in the earth,
And
but
so
it was
steep. Oh,
yeah, it was
yeah.
really steep too, so we're, like, rocking back and forth. I'm like, "I don't even know if I'm gonna make it to the first zip line," but we made it there, and it was so much fun. It was 6 zip lines down the whole mountain, and, from there, like, they had us go down backwards a few times, like, holding hands because there was, like, 2 next to each other, so we're, like, holding hands going down them, doing crazy stuff. But it was a really, really cool experience and highly recommend if you're interested in that kind of thing. So just know that you will make it up, even though it seems a little sketchy. You will get there and enjoy the way down through the zip lines.
Yeah, and those zip lines, like, go through the trees and, like, over train tracks, and it beautiful views, and also super unique to be not just, like, getting on a zip line and then you get off at the end and there's not
Right.
much of anything to it, like, you're going through the trees on your way down a mountain, like, it's very picturesque and beautiful too. But from there, we were in Colorado for a while, and we kinda like, our final big stop, I guess, was, like, around Denver, and so we went to that Dinosaur Ridge, I think it was called.
Yes.
Oh, goodness. I know some people believe all of the dinosaur stuff that they have there, and, like, believe me, I don't deny that dinosaurs existed, but I don't know. How did you feel, Ellie? Did you think it was all real?
I don't know. Like you said, I do believe in dinosaurs, but some of the stuff seemed kind of like fake and some of the bones and footprints seemed a little too fresh for was this
Yeah.
like 2014 that we went, I think, somewhere around there. So I'm like, those bones are looking a little too put together for this time.
Yeah, too
Um,
nicely placed. Like, the
yes.
timelines didn't quite add up there. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be really cool, like, if you had a child that was really into, like, dinosaurs, like, they wouldn't really understand that that's not really
Right.
potentially not real. But
Right.
for adults, it's cool. It was cool. There was big like dinosaurs that you could get pictures with.
Yeah, and also right near there is Red Rocks Amphitheater. So if you can like they do movies, I think in the summer and well, actually they might do it year round pending weather, I'm not sure. But concerts, there was nothing going on when we went there, but we did get a great lightning show. So no
Yes.
music was happening other than the thunder and it was just we tried to get pictures and I don't think we were super successful, but over the Red Rocks that was something special. That was so cool.
Yeah, that was probably the only free show they offer is a lightning show, an unplanned
Exactly,
lightning show.
yes.
So yeah, that was really cool. Like we didn't obviously get to see a show besides the lightning show, but I can't imagine what it's like to see someone performing there. It's probably unreal.
Just such a unique venue. Like, how cool is that to, like, have the Red Rocks surrounding you and, like, Denver in the distance? It's just I wanna go to a concert there someday. It would be so cool.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of cool and unique experiences, we happened
Oh.
to stumble upon Casa Bonita in Denver. Sad to say, if you're going out west, you cannot stop there because they are closed, and it's the saddest
Oh,
thing ever because
moment
it
of
was,
silence.
yeah, the weirdest place I think I might have ever been. So it's
Yeah.
a Mexican restaurant, and they have someone dressed as a gorilla just casually walking around,
Mhm.
and it's like cave-like seating in some parts of it, and they also have a high diving show in the middle of the restaurant. Like you're just eating your Mexican food and a high diving show is going on and there's a gorilla just walking around doing
Yep.
their thing. So,
That place was nuts. That was, like, probably the most unique dining situation I've ever been in. It was like a variety show happening, but, like, not a traditional, like, dancing variety show. There yeah, the
right.
cliff diving, and there was the gorilla, and there was, like, a magician or something. It was just
Yeah.
so, so unique.
I went back like a few years later with my parents. Like, we have to go to Casa Bonita. It's like the craziest, unique, most like, unique experience ever. And the food is just like subpar. But
Yeah,
the experience was 10 out of 10. I'm sorry you
yeah.
all listening to this cannot go there.
Yeah, I went out to
Maybe.
Colorado this past year and, yep, closed. That was kind of like the cap. Like our last big stop was Denver on that trip, and then we did make our way back across the Midwest. But something kind of to break up the trip there, we like to stop at diners, drive-ins, and dives places, like places that Guy Fieri has been and has gone to on his show, Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives. And so a couple of the different places that we would go, like there was a place called Dixie Quicks in Iowa somewhere, and we had a really good breakfast in like this really hipster little place. And I do remember another place. This is like my favorite diner that I've been to from this show. They pride themselves on throwed rolls. And so they have delicious rolls for with your meal. And it's like a Southern style meal. Like you got your fried chicken and everything. But they will literally throw the rolls to you from anywhere in the restaurant. So literally, like at one point, it's this big like hall-like setting, and my brother stood up, and someone from the opposite corner threw a roll to him, and that's how they deliver their rolls, and they are so delicious, and it's so fun. Here's the name of it: Lambert's. Lambert's in Sakeston, Missouri. So that's the throwed roll place.
Sounds good. It sounds like we've got a little bit of eating opportunities on this trip with also plenty of adventure and national parks.
Yeah.
If you're booking a trip this summer and are interested in this, we hope you check out some of our recommendations. And if you want to know some more, I know we've both been out west more times than just this trip, so we'd be happy to
Mhm.
give some more tips or other locations to visit.
Thanks for tuning in to the Wanderlusting Wives podcast. Come escape with us again next Tuesday morning. Give us a subscribe and a follow on all of our social media and wherever you listen to your podcasts. And until we chat next week, wander on.